It's unfortunate that we got in today, which is the 22nd of July 2025, having duly notified the Senate through 2 letters that I would be resuming functions today. As a matter of fact, I'm disappointed on 2 grounds. One is the number of armed policemen that we met outside, all well kitted with guns, charged at a female senator who is unarmed with her people here, patriotic Nigerians. And the second thing is the fact that the Senate, under the leadership of Godswill Akpabio, have decided to become lawbreakers and by denying me entrance into the chambers to resume my duty. There's been some conversations in the media by his own team, trying to twist the narrative that the judge did not order my reinstatement. And I'd like to clarify that. You see, pursuant to Section 318 of the 1999 Constitution, it is very clear that decisions of a court comes in 5 ways. It could be a judicial decree, it could be a sentence, it could be an order, it could be a conviction, and it could be a recommendation. So an order is just one of the 5 decisions that a judge can pronounce over any case. And mine tilts towards a recommendation. Now, you would think that a recommendation is a voluntary. That means the Senate has either they comply or they have the right not to comply. But I'd like to clarify that. Again, if you go further to Section 287, subsection 3 of the 1999 Constitution, again, it actually specifies in clear terms that decisions, that's any of these 5 decisions of any of the possible on every authority. So what that means in simple terms, whether they mention that the Justice Binta Nyako of the Federal High Court made an order or made a sentence or made a judicial decree or a recommendation, whatever, however they want to interpret the literal words, interpretation of the words, it is still a decision of a court and it is still binding on the National Assembly.
Hello everyone, thanks for joining me in this video. Haven't listened to the review or the statement of NATASHA, Senator NATASHA, that he was disappointed that Akpabio, the Senate, barred him from entering the Senate plenaries to continue her legislative duty and obligation to the people of her constituency. You see, describing Akpabio as a lawbreaker, I could not, be far from the reality of the perception of many Nigerians regarding the President of the 10th National Assembly. Some persons have expressed different opinions or reservations regarding his antecedents in the past and in the current, describing him as a mere rubber stamp Senate President of the 10th National Assembly. We've seen, ever since he assumed office, several controversies bordering on allegation of sexual abuse, misappropriation, and whatever may be the case, and ineptitude in his capacity as the Senate President. Unlike during the eras of Saraki, we saw how Saraki stood tall to defend the Constitution and the people of Nigeria against the rascality of the executive. Most pronounced during the first tenure of Muhammadu Buhari gang. Saraki, as the Senate President, stood tall to defend the people and the Constitution. Being the lawmaker, he could interpret the laws. This is what the law says, and we must play by the rule, and we must express some level of sanity, discipline, equity, fairness, and justice to all. But what then perceive him to be an obstacle, and eventually they has to conspire to opt him out of office, because whenever you stand for the truth, you in defense of the truth, definitely you will be perceived as an enemy, and they could do whatever possible to get you out of the way. That could not be a different case with NATASHA, and it is very unfortunate that her constituency has been disfranchised and no one representing them. There have been several court ruling or recommendation, as she said. Why should the Senate President take it personal? This development or verdict was addressed to the entire Senate to accommodate and allow NATASHA to resume her duty, because under the law, the Senate Assembly has no right to suspend a duly elected senator. They are my colleagues. So what could be different? How could they prefer or put themselves in a more advantageous position than NATASHA? Could it be because she is a woman? She stood out in defense of her rights against the alleged sexual assaults. Does it mean that people could no longer speak up or defend her themselves? Should anyone be intimidated, just as the very dark man was responding to his purported lawyer for saying that the very dark man is overrating himself, is taking unnecessary risks because he has dedicated himself to the service of humanity and is being perceived and even considered as overrating himself, that should anything happen to him, eventually Nigeria will move forward. This is the kind of society we have. People who call themselves human activists, legal activists, but they are embodiment of cowards, embodiment of mediocres, who could be taken aback, who could be cornered somewhere and eventually exchange envelope and the rest of them. This very reason has been the reason why Nigeria is stuck in the wheel of motionless and despair. People are afraid of saying the truth or confronting, of course, the erring officials, elected offices. Why shouldn't that be? Why should somebody who should be a custodian of the law, breaking the law he was meant to keep, to uphold? Why should NATASHA be suspended in the first instance without setting up a panel of inquiry, of judicial inquiry, to ascertain the veracity of her claims? She was not given the opportunity to defend herself. It was more or less a bullying approach. We have to bully you. Who knows you? Who are you? Who will speak for you? Who can defend you? We don't not say anything and get away with that. The host senators conspired against their fellow Senate member. As someone described the Senate to become a court, more or less of a court. Your hands, your mouth are being tied in as much as you remain there. Whatever is done should be shrouded in secrecy and is binding on anyone. So everybody have to keep quiet, and while things are getting out of place, things are going wrong. So why should Senator NATASHA be denied the opportunity to resume her course of duty to her own people? So there is deficit, there is gap, there is a vacuum that must be filled. And there has not been any law that convicted her or indicted her otherwise. So why should NATASHA be denied access to the Senate complex to resume her duty? This is the reason why I said not until Nigeria happens to some persons, they will not understand. Today, we have in a society the ex-police officers are staging a protest. What was their demand? That their remuneration, their pension is nothing, of course, it's no longer sustainable. And whatever contributories, pensions, scheme or whatever, they are demanding that such should be abolished because it has not benefited anyone either. It is the same police, while in active service, they conspire with the political elites, with the executive, to fight the common masses. Today, they are retired. They join the common people in the community, and now they are queuing up protesting with placards and the rest of them. Possibly they will be tear gassed. When they have the opportunity, that is why Nigeria is stopped. The same people that are being used again today against the civilians will definitely cry, "Had I known." It's just a matter of time. Including the military, the security operatives that are being used because they are in active service. When they fail to fight the monster, to fight the evil system, definitely the evil system has a way of hitting them back. I can't just imagine the ex-policemen coming demonstrating under the sun, barricading the National Assembly. And my own pain and disappointment was that they were not repaired. Maybe the IG of police would have mobilized and sent a battalion to disperse them. Because their protest does not hold any water, does not hold any ground. They should take it whatever they see. That is just the case. If the civilians are complaining, they shouldn't complain because they have the opportunity to have right the wrong, and they failed to do that. Today, they are receiving it at the end. That is just the case. So, as other senators may have seen what is going on, happening to NATASHA and keeps quiet, it means they are losing their voice. They are being cowed. They are being silenced. Their right to expression, their right to defend the cause of justice, equity and fairness is being usurped, and they don't know what is going on. I don't pray it gets to this point. Possibly they may demand, okay, if I don't sleep with your woman, of course, you will not be part of the Senate. By then, people will get to understand that water don't pass Gary, but they are not seeing it now. They are staging everybody, trying to silence everybody. Some Ababio said, "Can we allow the poor to breathe?" The first time ever in history. The mouthpiece of the people, someone who presides as the custodian of the Constitution, who should uphold the rule of law and pursue the welfare, the well-being of the masses, is asking, do we allow the poor to breathe? Of course, not just the poor, even his fellow Senate colleague could no longer gasp for air. They are gasping for air. The likes of NATASHA, she's gasping for air. You can imagine she narrated her frustration over the militarization of the Senate complex. Just because she has notified them in advance that she's coming back based on the determination or the ruling of the courts, whether it's by recommendation or whatever, the court has a position that she should come back to continue her legislative duty to her own people of Kogi State, from her own constituency. There is no justification anywhere backed by law, the reason why she should be denied the legislative right, because she is holding and representing the mandate of the people through the electoral process. So it is only through that electoral process definitely she will be removed by the same people. You see, there was a conspiracy, an attempt to recall her through the back doors, but eventually that was exposed. It couldn't say through, because at the point INEC has to discard that, knowing fully well that it does not meet the requirement and the rest of them. They failed in that attempt and eventually are not giving up. They want to make sure she is frustrated. They want to make sure she is intimidated for daring to speak out over the perceived injustice or alleged sexual harassment meted on her. So many people are dying in silence today, including the Nigerian population. How many of them will want to speak out? Just like what is his name again? Very dark man lawyer. I wouldn't want to. I can't remember whatever be his name. It is immaterial. Is inconsequential? Said that very dark man is taking risk. If he should die now, Nigeria will move on. Including the lawyer. If the lawyer dies, live a life of cowardice or whatever, or bravery, Nigeria will also move forward. Humanity will move forward. But what is the impact? Other Western wars, we understood how they fought for their freedom. They fought to keep their right of existence. They fought to keep their right of expression and identity. Today, Nigerians are tripping towards Europe, towards America. They want to die by all means to get to those shores, because people, the aborigine, the indigenous people residents within those localities, they fought. They resisted the monsters. They fought against the principalities and the powers holding them back, hijacking and usurping their right and common resources. They fought through, and they break through. They have to break even today. Just like Italy, we saw, of course, the revolution of the France Revolution, American Revolution, and the rest of them. Today they have come up with constitution that protects and recognizes the rights of every citizen. They have equal rights, whether you're the prime minister or the president of the state. We all have equal rights. We could access equal opportunity. There is equal playground. The prime minister or the president can be treated in the public hospital. You could board a public train. So this was possible because the people stood against the monsters, against those who said they will have to hijack and usurp the fundamental rights of the people. These people understood what they are doing. Now, what is the justification for sorting out NATASHA out of office, out of her legislative duties? And you have about few ladies in the house. Nobody's talking. For whatever reason best known to them. So they abandoned Natasha to her fate. Since you dare not keep quiet, whatever happens to you, let it become your fate. How do we move forward? Where do we go from here? That is an important question we must ask ourselves. Nigerians, how do we move forward from here? The office holders, the public service or office holders must be accountable to the people. And they must conduct themselves in a manner that portrays discipline and decency. If such could be happening in the National Assembly where laws are being made, then it means Nigeria is in a fearful state. Honestly, it's in a fearful state. Could we describe this at this point to be state capture? No, is this short from being a state capture? That where nobody has the right to express his or herself, nobody has the right to question certain, of course, happenings and the status quo. You don't have the right, if you are being assaulted or whatever, keep quiet. Do you know who I'm talking to? It has gotten to that point. The Nigerians will definitely know they have lost their right of expression and identity. If Natasha, as influential personality she is, could be treated in such disparaging manner, then who is a common man on the streets? We can now understand what Nigerians are trapped in. They are trapped in a very big mess, a very big mess. And I very much appreciate the very dark man that gave it to the so-called lawyer, gave it to him front and back. Okay, let me leave you to just get a clip of what the very dark man has to reply. It is very interesting, and I commend him for his boldness, sincerity, and commitment to the service of humanity.